You are welcome to my channel, A Heart to Heart Talk Parenting the Special Needs Child. If you're a new subscriber, thank you very much for joining in. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for sticking with us. This episode is going to be very interesting because I have with me on this show a child and adolescent psychiatrist. Before I introduce him to my audience, we'll take a short break. Stay tuned, don't go away, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Like I said, this episode is going to be very interesting because we have Dr. Omotosho. Dr. Omotosho, can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Hello, viewers. It's so good to be here today, and I think this is laudable coming from Mrs. Nurat Audu. My name is Dr. Omotosho. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and I teach medical students at the University of Ilorin. I'm the founder of Yours Mindfully, and I'm a co-executive of the National Association for Child and Adolescent Psychiatrists and Allied Professionals.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matosho. Thank you for coming in. Despite your busy schedule, you still carved time for us. I'm really grateful. I believe this episode is quite educative. Our viewers at home will have a lot to learn from. Then you said you're founder of Yours Mindfully.
Yes.
What do you do? What
Yes.
does it entail?
Yes, Yours Mindfully is a mental health initiative that provides information regarding mental health and also provides professional solutions because we realize that many people don't have accurate information. There's information overload on the internet, but somehow people don't have accurate information from professionals and also to proper solutions because we started during the pandemic, at which time there was a lot of mental health demands, and at that time we saw the need to also give back to society.
Wow, wow. This is really laudable. I must commend you. There's a whole lot of work you're doing out there.
Thank you.
So, is it accessible to people? How do one get that? Do you have any contact?
Yes, it's absolutely accessible. That we have a unified digital footprint. So what that means is Yours Mindfully is the same name on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. Yes, so we're available, and then we have contact details there as well. So if you want to reach us by phone, once you slide into our DM, we're available to provide mental health support.
Mental health support.
Yes.
Wow, this is good. So you can, at any time, you can Google, you can reach through Facebook, like you said, through Twitter, and you can get whatever support you want, mental support and guide. Thank you very much, Joe. That's a whole lot of responsibility that you're carrying in, and I wish you all the best on that. Now, to my question, mental health. Like I'll first of all start from my own experience,
Right.
because I always want to use my experience to serve as a guide. At times when one wants to advise someone, the person will tell you, "Oh, are you into it? Has it happened to you?"
Yeah.
They will really want to know if that happened to you
Some
before you
experience.
have experience, before you can have that
Yes.
liberty
Yeah.
to talk to someone else. Now, I'll start from the pregnancy. Is there any sign that indicates that the child that is coming to the world is going to have mental health issues? We are talking about condition that has autism, whatever condition, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. Is there any sign from pregnancy that indicates that a child can have any form of condition?
Yeah, so I think the question you've asked is a very pertinent one, and many parents will be interested in knowing what they need to do in making sure they identify very early what some of the signs might be. Well, to begin with, there are some telltale signs in pregnancy that are red flags. The moment those signs occur, you know that there might be some challenge or the other. And those things involve bleeding in pregnancy because ordinarily there shouldn't be bleeding in pregnancy. Some other signs include things like abdominal pains that are quite severe in pregnancy or fever that's really high grade in pregnancy. All of such things are things that one should watch out for because trauma, infections, poor nutrition, taking drugs, and even hard substances. Those are different things people can do in pregnancy that can put them at a risk of having a child that has a problem.
Wow, wow. So for someone like me now,
Yes.
that I do not have that, I'm taking drugs, drug abuse, right?
Yes,
We're
yes.
talking about hard drugs
Yes,
here
yes,
now.
yes.
Or
Hard drugs. I'm referring specifically to hard drugs.
hard drugs.
Yes, even though for the general drugs that are prescribed,
Yes.
ideally that should be done not by self-medication but by
Okay.
prescription.
By
and a doctor would generally have checked whether the medication you're taking is safe for the trimester you're in. Actually, we like to discuss this with a useful guide, looking at the prenatal phase, the perinatal phase, meaning around the time of birth, and then the postnatal phase, meaning right after the delivery of the baby. So the conditions and the risk factors that I've mentioned so far are related to the ones that happened earlier on in pregnancy. How about the ones that happen around the time of birth? It's possible that someone doesn't have any problem earlier on, registers for their antenatal care, everything is going smoothly, but around the time of birth, if the birth process is prolonged and it takes a while before the baby comes out, yes, the baby may have had some challenges with having enough oxygen, and the brain at that phase of life is quite sensitive. So if the labor is prolonged, sometimes some people have prolonged labor for 2 days, for 3 days. And yes, that's yes. Though ideally that wouldn't happen if the person quickly goes to the hospital, which is why this conversation is also very good. Yes, exactly. So those are perinatal events that can occur. And then in the phase immediately after birth, if the baby is not crying immediately, if the baby is not supple, if the baby is floppy, yes, meaning the baby feels yes weak and not yes and not firm enough, not active. Yes, those are things to watch out for. If the baby develops jaundice, yes, absolutely. In the first 7 days of life, we watch out for that. Because if a baby has yellowing of the skin, what it means is that inside the blood, there's a pigment called bilirubin, and it is free to enter the brain of the child. That doesn't quite happen in adults, because in adults, we have a gate to the brain that prevents harmful substances from the blood from entering the brain. But in children who are newly born, yes, the neonates, in them, they don't have that gate fully developed. It's called the blood-brain barrier. So in them, if a child has yellowing of the skin, indicating something deeper going on in the blood, that's really dangerous and something should be quickly done about that. You quickly return to the hospital, the pediatrician is involved. Sometimes the child will have phototherapy. Some other times they may even need to exchange the blood of the child with fresh blood if it has gone really eaten deep, exactly, to prevent long-term sequelae. For instance, some people who have cerebral palsy did not have any problems of the mother in pregnancy. It was jaundice immediately after birth that wasn't quickly detected or quickly attended to that eventually resulted into that. So neurodevelopmental problems generally can be prenatal. That means that before the baby is born, earlier on in pregnancy, perinatal, meaning around the time of birth, and then postnatal, referring to the experience after childbirth. So this is the first time that I'm hearing that cerebral palsy can be as a result of jaundice. Yes. Oh, this is the first time. Well, thank you very much, Doctor, for sharing this information. I believe the viewers or the audience out there will take note of that, and they will be take note of the warning signs and also the signs that you gave during the those phases. Yes. Then my second question, right, and that is that now, if it has occurred that your child has any of those conditions, what is the first thing to do? In my own case now, when I observed that my own son wasn't talking, like I shared in the previous episode, the experience of me not wanting to take him to the hospital because I felt that no, he was just being calm. Or because from my early stage, from what I heard from my parents, I was also the very reserved type. So I felt he was also toiling that line. So I didn't take him to the hospital. Is there any of such conditions that require immediate attention? Yes, absolutely. So it's usually better when there is early intervention. And I want to begin the response by empathizing with you because I know that this must have been quite a journey through the years. So that said, the journey has to begin with identifying that there's a problem, and the moment you identify that there's a problem, quickly go to the hospital because there's a role for early intervention. Actually, for children in the first 28 days, some of the things to watch out for are a child that did not immediately cry, a child that was not quite firm, and all of that. But then after that phase, in the first 6 months, we watch out for neck control at 3 months. So if a child is not gaining neck control and the neck, is still, yes, at that phase, still dangling at that phase, you watch out for that. And then from 6 months to 1 year, there are also things we watch out for. Of course, in the first 6 months, we watch out for cooing as well, the normal sounds that babies make.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. You expect that to be there. But if a baby is not cooing, is not responding to sounds,
Yes.
you slam the door, the baby is not looking there, or beyond 6 months, the child appears to be in a world of their own, is not engaged in play, is not smiling. Yeah, so those are some of the things you watch out for. And the moment you note or notice that, even in the first year, which is the period of infancy, quickly go to the hospital because the brain, as it develops in the first 5 years of life, that phase is very critical to how well,
They would do.
yes, they could
Carry on at
do,
the later
yes, at the
phase.
later phase. So that's why the moment you notice something as a parent, parents are more or less like the specialists, as it were, at home, meaning that you're the first hand, you have the
Yes.
first-hand
First hand,
experience.
yes.
Experience can be personal or professional, and you have personal experience,
experience.
and you're bringing into the room today some
Yes,
professional experience.
exactly.
So the moment you notice that there's a challenge with a child, you notice that there's something different, quickly go to the
Quickly go
hospital.
to the hospital.
And a useful first step is to identify that my child is different, not better or worse than other children, but different. Yes, and for parents who have children that have special needs, that's a good starting point.
Wow. Doctor, the way you are talking, how I'm beginning to feel this calmness, this relief. Because my experience with psychiatrist had not been good. I need to say this, my experience was not nice at all. In fact, it to me worsened the situation because I felt, in the first instance, I should have even gone to see the psychiatrist in the first instance. Because at the end of the day, I came home depressed. You understand? I was going there with a heavy chest, thinking if you meet a specialist, they should rather calm you down and you feel relief. But it was the other thing that I got, so it wasn't encouraging. Like now, I don't have to sit down and tell someone else that please, if you have any issue, please go to a psychiatrist. But then this is the first time I was hearing about the child psychiatrist and my relationship with you. I'm related with you, and you made me understand some things. Now, can you just share that? How in that my situation now? What do you think happened, and what do you do as a body to ensure that you regulate what the doctor says to the patient? I know the other, it's just a one-on-one encounter. What should parents do?
Yes. So again, I feel for the fact that you had experiences that were untoward or negative. Of course, we're not in the middle of that experience right now, and whatever happened at that time, we empathize with you. The thing is that we have psychiatrists in the country, and we're just about 200 in the country. Sometimes,
200
yeah,
with
just
the population we are having.
exactly. Now you get where I'm going. Because at every given point, we have just about 200 to 300 psychiatrists in the country. And now, with many people moving and migrating, the number is probably closer to 200 than it is to 300. And at the last count, we had a population of 200 million. That means that we have just one psychiatrist to a million Nigerians. That's, I mean, look at that range. And apart from the fact that those are general psychiatrists, those of us who are child and adolescent psychiatrists are even fewer than that. Because within the specialty of psychiatry, we now have child and adolescent psychiatrists. So when you see a professional, I mean, I don't know who you saw, I don't know what the context was, but then the professional that attends to children with special needs is what we call a child and adolescent psychiatrist. And how we function is in a multidisciplinary team. So that team comprises the child psychiatrist, the pediatrician that attends to the physical needs of the child. Remember, a child with special needs may be a child with physical needs or mental needs or both. So we relate with pediatricians as well. And then we also relate with the speech and language therapist. Because sometimes the challenge is that the child isn't speaking early enough, and then we bring those in. In fact, we also relate with the, No, 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 not physiologists.
Okay.
Yes, so because physiology is something else. Physiology has to do with the functioning of the body.
Okay, function of the
Yes,
body.
but
Okay. Okay.
yes, I think
Okay.
you probably were trying to remember psychologist.
Yes.
A
Yes.
clinical,
Psychologist.
yes,
Yes.
a
Exactly.
clinical psychologist.
Psychologist.
Yes, a
Yes.
clinical psychologist is part of the team. So we offer therapy, and then the clinical psychologist also complements what the psychiatrist is doing in terms of the therapy and the psychotherapy that's ongoing with every given child. Okay, so
So with that, there's proper monitoring.
yes, yes. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a multidisciplinary team,
Team.
and then we individualize the treatment. So each
Okay.
child, it's not one size fits all.
Yes.
For each child, on the merits of the needs of that
Yeah.
child,
Yeah.
we then attend to the
Okay.
child and offer the relevant
Okay.
professional services.
Okay. Okay. Now I understand. So that whoever is out there listening to this, you will know that when you are going to see a psychiatrist, you are not going to see someone, just one person. Just like you
It's a
said,
team.
it's a team. It's a team. So they can give you proper, holistic guide on what is happening to your child. Thank you very much, Doctor,
You're welcome.
for putting that in. The other question is that at times you want to have private conversation
Right.
with a psychiatrist, and during that course, is there any examination that the mother or the father goes through to ascertain is this condition transferable?
Okay, so remember that we're not referring to one condition here.
Yes,
We're talking
with the
about
conditions that
many
are they
different things.
transferable?
So how I'll put it this way. Some of them have a genetic basis.
Okay.
Some of them do. And the meaning of that is that if a parent has it,
Okay.
for some of those illnesses that
Okay.
we're referring to, there's many different illnesses. For
Okay.
some of them, if a parent has it,
Yes.
there's more likelihood that a child could have
Could
it.
have it.
But you see the tenses here and the choice of words.
Yes.
We're not saying that it's 100% that the moment a parent has it, the child must have it.
Yes.
No, there are multiple factors, both genetic and environmental factors. It's an interplay of all of these factors
Okay.
that moderate and modulate
Okay.
whether or not a child, any
Right.
given child, would have special needs.
Special needs. Now, Doctor, my next question is that for parents, of course, it is very difficult
Right.
to be told that you first of all live in denial. That this can't happen. No, this is not happening now.
Yeah.
No, this can't happen. As you said, you don't have to delay. You need to know when you've been given that you have been told that your child is having this condition. The next thing is to seek for treatment.
Yeah.
Now, how do I move on from the face of the depression than now wanting to care for my child? Because I'm also battling with mine here.
Yes.
So,
yes.
how do you help me
Yeah.
in that condition? How do you help viewers whoever
Yes.
is in this
Exactly.
condition?
I mean, whoever
Mhm.
is going through this, you must be processing a lot in your mind, and our heart really goes out to you. Here's the thing: the moment you know that there are certain things that can be done at a critical early phase, and that some of those measures may not be as effective if there are delays.
Okay.
The moment you have that information, it arms you, it
Yeah.
equips you, it energizes you, such that no matter how down you feel, you have a glimmer of hope
Yes.
to quickly come up out of that and seek for that help. Because you know that if in that phase you're able to get some help, it may affect the overall outcome of things with that child.
Overall outcome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much thank you very much, Doctor, for that. I believe whoever is listening, Doctor is not saying that you will not feel bad. He has empathized with you, but he's saying that don't sit down. When you're sitting down does not help your condition. Rather, it compounds it. So you are harmed with that information. So the next line of action is what you take action to see how you can help your child or children in such condition. Thank you very much, Dr. Omotosho, for that submission. My next question will be that when you want to counsel parents on whatever you want to counsel them on, either about the education of the child, about caring for the child at home, do you counsel the father? You counsel both couples?
Okay, so this is also very important, and it's pertinent to have every voice in the room.
Okay.
So we counsel the parents and we talk to the child, as best as we can.
Okay.
And remember, the multidisciplinary team
Okay.
also involves people that are not in the medical field.
Okay.
So even the teachers are involved.
Okay.
Ideally, a school should have an EdSAC, that's an educational psychologist, or at least we could work with a guidance and counselor in the school, just to get some help for the child. So we can provide professional support to the teachers in the school because we encourage generally that where mainstream and inclusive education can occur, it should.
Yes.
Yes, so that we then relate with the teachers on how best to handle the situation. So we believe in counseling. Yes, it takes two to tango.
Exactly.
Yes, it wasn't only the mother that gave birth to the child, the
Yes.
father was involved.
Wow.
So it's good if we have the father and the mother. It's helpful even for the couple themselves. It's helpful for their mental health where the father is supporting the mother and vice versa,
Yes.
and then both of them are helping the child on that journey.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Doctor. So, like you mentioned, that you need the collaborative efforts of both parents, both the father and the mother, needs to be involved. So, whatever counseling they are given, they are not just given only the mother or the father; they are given both couples. Thank you very much, Doctor. Now, in another instance, whereby the child is taken to school, you can say if you observe that there are no many schools that handle. In fact, like the man I interviewed in the previous episode, Mr. Akim Nawal, that there's even significant growing numbers of school of the blind and the deaf, but the one for other conditions, most private entrepreneurs have not leveraged on that to have good schools to care. So most parents resolve in education at home, and it can affect their job. And once the financial, whichever part is being affected, it also affects the training or the care for the child. In such case, what do you advise?
Well, what we even generally advise and encourage is that we have inclusive education. And what that means is that as you have children who do not necessarily have special needs in a class, we should also have children who have special needs. Some schools, even in this city, are following that model where you have children with special needs ingrained into what's going on. And then they play with the other children. But when it's time for learning, they may have a particular class where at their own pace, they're being taught. But they are not segregated from other children. They don't go to a particular school where the only children.
Is that what you advocate for now?
Absolutely. So that children learn generally by social modeling. Children do what they see. So if you want a child to get better, who has special needs, put that child with other children who don't have special needs. Remember that children are not better or worse, they're simply different. So a child with special needs is a different child. And that child can also learn from other children simply by observing how children who don't have special needs behave. So it's helpful to have different people, and that also helps to lessen stigma. And stigma is a big thing that we should talk about because people should not stigmatize children with special needs or indeed the families from which they hail. There's a general cultural thing where people see those people as, oh, in that family they have such and such. That's wrong. That's not helpful. Yes, we should embrace everyone and we shouldn't discriminate against people with special needs.
This one I will go and write down, and I make sure that I ingrain that children with special needs are not different.
That they are simply different. They're not
different.
Yes, children are not better or worse.
Children are not better or worse.
Children are simply different.
Children are simply different. Wow. This is a take home. Will I call it the slogan now?
Yes, it is. It's actually one of the maxims for special
needs.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I believe my viewers out there will be very happy that I had to bring it up to this show and to explain some certain things. And with these maxims, they will be able to take that in and it make them feel better. That is the idea of having this show, to tell every parent that you can do it. You do not have to feel self-pitied, but rather you have to know that your child can be independent and balanced. It depends on who you are talking to, and that is why we are telling you to see a child psychiatrist. They are a team of doctors that can talk to you and that can give you good advice as to how to take care of your child or children. Thank you, Dr. Omotosho. I bring me to the last one. I said the last question. It's like I don't want you to go, but then we have to go. The next question: what is the ideal relationship for couples having a special needs child? Ideal relationship at home.
Okay.
The show. Has anything changed?
Okay.
Mm.
All right. So, in terms of the ideal relationship, I think if we were to put it in one word,
Okay.
it would be a supportive relationship. Support. So
Support.
that's the one word. Support. Because remember that there may be other children in the
Okay.
mix
Yes.
who do not have special needs. Those children need to be reassured
Okay.
that we don't love this child with special needs more
More
than you.
than
We simply need to pay
happens.
attention
Yes.
to this child because they need the attention,
The
you know. So
attention.
helping every child in the room, being sensitive to the needs of the children, and then for the parents as well, being open.
Being open.
Yes, being open helps you to be close.
To be
Yes,
close.
you want to be closer to your spouse, be open.
Be open.
So be vulnerable,
Yeah.
express your fears, your anxieties, get some support
Yes.
is quite important.
Okay. So do you take other siblings? So for counseling too, when you are bringing a child with special needs, you advise that they bring the other siblings to
Well,
for counseling too?
I get that. The beautiful thing about children is that children do not actually discriminate in the way that adults do.
Adults do.
Many children will just play with a child with special needs in the way they
Mhm.
will play with other children. And then the more we talk to the children about what's going on and they see that we have a loving approach to it rather than one that it has discrimination in it, they'll begin to learn that. They'll learn the proper way of relating and then that wouldn't be much of a
Much
problem.
of a
Yes,
problem.
and there may be times that bringing them, for
In
care
might be
might
called
even yes be appropriate.
be appropriate. The other question, I believe, it should be. I'm going to ask you two questions now. The first one is that I mean, towards the end of, I'm rounding it up now, so it will be two in one question now. The role of the medical community in the area of research in getting drugs. Do you advise traditional medical whatever?
All right.
Do you encourage that? Because you get to see that some people will pull out their children from they believe that don't go if you go that just like the stigma that you just
Yeah.
mentioned now. Why not use these herbs? Why not combine those things? Why not go to this man? Why not go to this pastor? What do you say to that?
Okay, so it's an unfortunate one that many of our patients who are lost to follow up have that experience of trying alternative care. And I understand that when a child has this, they're trying to get every solution possible at all costs.
Okay.
But we shouldn't do that at the detriment of the health of the child. Because the problem with many of these herbs is they're not regulated.
Okay.
So, what's the amount of herbs that you're going to use for what condition? What are the side effects of those herbs? They don't talk to you about those things.
Yes.
They just tell you that this same herb can cure 115 diseases, but it's not necessarily so. And the other thing is that it can be harmful.
Okay.
It can be harmful. And then again, the downside is that it prevents many people from coming to the hospital because they think they're already receiving care. And by the time we see them, there are now many complications already because it affected the early intervention that we should have maximized.
Wow. Thank you very much, Doctor. Then the last question, I said two in one question. I just wanted you to explain that before going to my last question. Is when I spoke to you some times ago, you told me that on 27th, May 27th, which is the Children's Day, you have activities going on
Yes.
for children with special needs. Can you please share that with the audience?
All right. So what we do generally is that we have a foundation at Yours Mindfully where we reach out to children. These include children with special needs and other children as well. And then we have an association. Remember, I talked about being the core being a core executive at the Association for Child and Adolescent Psychiatrists and Allied Professions in Nigeria. So on Children's Day at Akapan, we had a talk amongst professionals where we educated ourselves again about
educate yourselves.
Yes, so we do that. So we have programs where we're educating ourselves. That's called continuous education. Yes.
Wow.
So
That's good.
yeah, so we do that amongst professionals, and then we have educative programs as well for the community where we are educating other people too. And then we have advocacy that's going on in different communities, and then sometimes these things are virtual, some other times they're actual. So we go physically into some communities sometimes and
to
enlighten
the
exactly.
public. Is government supporting you?
Well, we hope to have more of that.
Okay.
Yes, I'll put it that way. So hopefully we'll get to start having that soon. At the moment, all the things we've done have been self-sponsored, and they've been done simply by the passion of wanting to give back to society. Hopefully, very soon we'll have government collaboration as well, and that would help in reaching more places, and it would also help with the impact.
So you are saying that you are encouraging child psychiatrists to also come up. People should also focus on that field too, so that you don't have are you the only one in the whole as the head? How will I put it now? I know you mentioned other people there, but you child psychiatrists, you mentioned that there are very few.
Yes, there are very few of
in
us.
the institution
There are
where you
very
are.
few of us. So in the institution that I am and in the states where we're at for this coverage,
Yes.
there are only two of us in the states.
Only two.
Yes, only two of us, and so we advocate for more child psychiatrists. And remember, many of the countries that people are traveling to are countries that have these needs as well. So it's a field that's required the world over. So if the government would, for instance, make the environment
conducive,
yes,
so that
conducive,
doctors,
so
our child psychiatrists don't leave.
exactly, because we do need child psychiatrists in Nigeria. We need them around the country because the work is a lot, and every country that takes child psychiatry seriously is investing into the future of that country, because the brain of the children that are growing determines the capacity of the intellect of those who would lead the nation.
Doctor, you've spoken well. I know that at any point in time when I call you to come and talk about other issues, I believe you're going to grant me your time. This is something that you're very passionate about. I know the sacrifices you've made to come here. I really want to thank you and appreciate you for
You're
coming.
welcome. You're welcome.
And at the last, just the take home word for everyone out there who is having a special need, and you've done that just for them, whoever that's just coming up and joining in. What do you advise? Just the take home.
Yes. If you have a child that has a special need, I want you to know that you're not alone. Express yourself. Know that your child is not better or worse than other children. Your child is simply different. Embrace that and get some required help. The earlier, the better, because there are early interventions that help with the eventual outcome. Join support groups if they're available in the vicinity where you are, and then get valid information. There's a lot of information overload on the internet, but not everything is accurate. Make sure that the information that you're embracing is from professional outlets and platforms that help you to know how best to help that child. So all the best in this journey, because I want you to know that what it actually is not an event, but a journey. And as you go along in that journey or that adventure, glean on the positives that you get from it and express yourself most beautifully. Thank you very much, Dr. Omotosho. What can I say? I don't think I have anything to add to this. He had already spoken it, he had already said it all. Thank you very much for your time today, Dr. Omotosho. I really want to appreciate you once again. Thank you very much. And I all the best in whatever activity that you're doing. This brings me to the end of this episode. Thank you very much. Please keep liking, keep sharing, and keep subscribing. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you and bye bye.